Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the marriage of Sarah Hunter and...
Payback time! Meet me!
Do you take this woman and health? Then
Get down!
by the
We got
power
trouble!
vested in me,
Coming through! No! I love a good wet. Let's get this party fired up!
How could they do this?
We got an emergency! Don't just stand there, get to work! Let's roll!
This will most likely be the last of the remastered PlayStation Portable reviews I do for quite some time. The only remaining ones I would like to revisit one day with our current technology include MotorStorm, Arctic Edge, and Wipeout Pulse, but those aren't on the queue at this particular point in time. So let's go ahead and tackle Pursuit Force Extreme Justice. Pursuit Force was a really fun game that suffered thanks to long load times, repetitive gameplay, and awful ground-based missions. What it did right included excellent car-to-car acrobatic jumping, great action, and fluid controls, for the most part. In early 2008, Big Studio followed up Pursuit Force with Pursuit Force Extreme Justice. Its goal was to fix just about everything wrong with the first game and to score a home run. So the question is, did they succeed? And for the most part, they did. It's not perfect, but it comes awful close. Extreme Justice picks up shortly after the events of the first game, where all of the convicts break out of prison and are hell-bent on reclaiming the city. Well, we can't have that, can we? To make matters worse, there's a new Viper Squad in town that's hogging all the glory. The Pursuit Force was created to do whatever it took to stop the bad guys, and no one, not even a government-sanctioned squad, are going to get in the way. Extreme Justice is broken down into several gameplay modes. The main draw is the single-player story mode, which is broken down into 30 unique missions ranging from driving, escort, third-person shooting, and much more. What keeps the game interesting is playing through missions that switch things up. For example, you may start one mission on a boat escorting a frigate to a dock, but once you arrive, you have to jump in a car and take to the streets because various baddies just so happen to steal the vessel's cargo. Driving cars is only half the fun because this game includes a plethora of different vehicle types for players to mess around with, including boats, hovercrafts, trucks, motorcycles, and everything else you can imagine. In order to keep things fresh, Big Studios included many new vehicles and also increased the size of the various missions. Now you have to drive further, destroy more enemies, and survive longer than ever before. The game's pacing has also been perfected, so after you take on a long driving mission, you have the opportunity to tackle something else. Something new that's been introduced in Extreme Justice is a checkpoint system, which is great news because now the missions are much longer, so surely you don't want to have to replay through the entire multi-part mission. To help on your quest, money can be earned based on successful mission completion and can be used to unlock new abilities from the police laboratory. So you can make it so that you can jump further, have more health, greater strength, and so on. Once you start unlocking new abilities, the game starts to ease up in difficulty, which makes the experience a lot more compelling. Much like the first game, the worst missions are those where you're forced to traverse on foot. The major problem comes from the lack of a second analog stick on the PSP. All of the other modes control much better than they did the first time around, and those that worked well before are tighter and more responsive here. Outside of the main campaign, players can partake in a challenge mode, which has you revisit old missions so you can try to outdo yourself. Challenge missions can be extremely tough because they often force extra goals on the player while simultaneously restricting your abilities. One of the more interesting modes is an ad hoc multiplayer mode. You can expect the usual deathmatch style games, but anything on foot should be avoided at all costs. Perhaps the best multiplayer mode is the one where some players are cops and the others are robbers. It plays out identically to the single player, except with everyone taking on their own part. You can jump between various vehicles and enjoy some really good times with your friends. Sadly, there is some noticeable lag throughout except for the person hosting the game. Extreme Justice is even nicer looking than Pursuit Force was, and that's actually saying something. This time around, the environments are larger with far more action going on at all times. Players can expect a few frame rate drops here and there when there's a ton of crazy explosions or the like. The voice acting is also superb or incredibly cheesy depending on which character you happen to be listening to. As far as the soundtrack is concerned, it's great and was actually done by the man behind Mass Effect, believe it or not. So you can expect some really impressive themes while the action heats up. Overall, Extreme Justice improves on a lot of the issues from the very first Pursuit Force, but also has a couple of its own. Fans of the original would likely enjoy just about everything Extreme Justice has to offer, and newbies alike would likely find a lot to enjoy here. The game can be had under $5 on UMD or $15 from the PlayStation Network.
Get out of the way! This is our jurisdiction!
Back off!
Hey!
Get your hands off me!
Wait! Let me go!
Pursuit Force? Put your guns down!
What the heck is this?
Who do these guys think they are? We're Viper Squad, and Billy Wilde is our responsibility. Now put down your weapon. I won't ask twice. You just did ask twice. You think I'm joking? Stand down, officer!
Do as Commander Decker says.
No! Play nice! Don't you really?